Hello friends, welcome once again to Rick's Garage. What you see here is the Ryobi expanded cultivator. It hooks on to your weed whacker power head. For some reason it is not working, so we're going to try to fix this. So right away I see the problem. This is the cable that drives the cultivator, and it is sticking in too far. It slipped down. It's supposed to be sticking out about 3/4 of an inch or so, and somehow it has slipped down. Now, to make sure that the transmission is actually working okay, I'm going to hook a needle nose vice grip onto it, and I'm going to turn the cable, and I'm going to adjust the camera. Now, as I turn this cable, this cultivator should move. And you can see I'm turning the cable and the cultivator is moving. So that tells me there's nothing wrong down below with the transmission. It's just that the cable has become dislodged somehow. So we're going to pull this thing apart and see if we can fix it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is remove these 4 bolts that hold the cover on. You're going to need a 3/8 for the front side and a 7/16 for the back side. I don't understand why they're not metric, but they don't appear to be. Okay, so got one off, and I'm going to go ahead and do the others off camera. Okay, with the cover unbolted, it'll slip right off. I've also got a little container to keep my nuts and bolts in. Where you're working outside, you don't want to be losing them out in the grass. Next, I have to remove the blades. That involves taking out the cotter pin. But I want to make sure I put them back on exactly the way I taken them out. So, on this flange, I'm marking R for right, and I'm marking L for left. Okay, and so now I'm only going to mark on the outside of these blades. So I am going to mark for this side, I'm going to mark R, and I'm going to put out. Okay, and I'm only marking on the side that faces out, so I'll know that that's the way they go. And on the other one, I'm going to mark L out, just knowing that's the outer blade and the other one's the inner blade, and I know that I'm only marking on the side that faces out. So on this one I'm going to mark L, I'm going to put O-U-T. Okay, on the other blade I'm going to mark, once I get these out of the way, I'm going to mark L in and R in. So I'm going to pull these off camera and finish marking them. I just got to pull off those cotter pins. I've got the blades off. I just want to point out that in between each blade were these little sponge type washers, so be careful with those. But they came off quite easily. Now, I called that a cotter pin that was holding them on, but I believe the correct term is a clevis pin. Now that we've got the blades off, we're going to need to loosen up all the case bolts. We're not going to take them all the way out. We're just going to loosen them up a little bit. That's 10mm, by the way. I don't understand why we had standard bolts holding the cover on, but the case is held on by metric bolts. course, the last one's going to be a little bit stubborn. Okay, we've loosened them all up. I believe they're all loosened up. So now that I've got all the screws loose, I clamped it in the vise using a shop rag to protect the shaft. I've got it clamped on the bottom shaft. And I found that this center screw I have to remove completely because that locks this in place. So now we're going to try to pull this out, and it comes out quite easily. And there is the problem we're having. This was too far in. So now we're going to try to adjust it. So what I've done here is I've taken the shaft and clamped it in the vise in such a way so the keeper is just above the jaws. I'm going to try tapping down on this. I need to get it to move about 1/2 inch or so. So I'm going to take the brass hammer and I'm going to attempt to see if it'll move. I'm going to, matter of fact, I'm going to measure it before I try to tap it. All right, so it's up at about 1.25 inches. So we want to make it so it's about 3/4 inch sticking out. We need to move it about 1/2 inch. So let's see how this works out. It looks like it is moving very stubbornly. Okay, a little, yeah, it's about 3/4 inch right now. So that's where we want it. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up a little bit. And I'm going to take a good old pair of vice grips and I'm going to clamp the hell out of it. And I don't know how long this repair will last, but okay. Now hopefully it'll stay there. I don't think anything else I could do than try to braze it there, but that should work. So let's, matter of fact, I'm going to take and put it on the thing and try tapping it a little bit to make it even tighter. Okay, so now let's try it back on the shaft and see how it fits. Okay, it looks like that was successful. That's about how far it's supposed to be sticking out, about 3/4 inch. And it needs to stick out that far to mate with the power head. So let's try putting it all back together and see if it works. So once again, I've gone ahead, clamped the transmission using a shop rag to protect it in the vise. And we're going to try to reinstall this handle, shaft, if you will. Okay. And now I'm going to use a pick to make sure that we line up the hole. Because it lines up just like that. All right, now that we've used a pick to line up the hole in the shaft, we can reinstall the screw that we removed completely. Want to make sure we get that lined up. We don't want to strip it. Looks like it is lined up, so now we can take our little wrench and retighten it. And I think at this point we can go ahead and retighten all the bolts. I honestly don't know what these Allen screws are for, but evidently you don't need to touch them. Alright, that's good. So now we're going to retighten all these screws. we've got these all tightened up. So we're back outside again, and I'm going to hook a little pair of vice grips on the end of this shaft, and I'm going to rotate it and make sure the shaft turns, and you can see it is indeed turning. So it looks like the repair was successful. I'm going to go ahead and put the blades back on, if you will, and we'll try it out. I'll do that off camera. Okay, so off camera I put it all back together. We're ready to try it out. Oh, it seems to work pretty good. So that's all it was, folks, was just that keeper on that shaft had allowed it to slip down about a half an inch or so and prevented it from mating with the power head. So once we got it apart and got the cable out, we just adjusted that keeper back to where it's supposed to be. Now, I have no idea how long it's going to stay like that, but at least if it happens again, we know what to do. So I want to thank you very much for watching Rick's Garage, and it's my sincere hope that we'll see you again sometime.